Take out a sheet of paper and write down exactly what you're earning right now in your HR role. On that same sheet of paper, write down exactly what you want to make in your HR role. Now, if those two numbers are not the same, you've got some work to do. Today, I'm sharing with you information that you're not going to find in a book. You're not going to find it on any other channel. Spoiler alert, is not involving job hopping, throwing temper tantrums, or even waiting for your turn. We're going to talk about the things you need to know and do to make sure you're earning more in your HR role. Now, who am I and why does this matter to me? So I'm Brittany. I started my HR career over 15 years ago as an unpaid HR intern. Today, I work in executive leadership, leading not only HR, but leading 2 additional departments and leading this business as well. So I understand that it takes a special tenacity, a certain level of determination, and a focus in order to grow your career at such a rapid pace. But I also know that it's not magic. The things that I did, you can also do. And I'm helping you because I'm called to serve you, to help you to understand, to put the pieces together, to do the work, and don't just rest on being a token. It's not about being a Black woman. It's not about being a mom. It's not about being in your role for X number of years. It's about putting in the work and doing things that actually make sense to warrant a promotion. So we're going to talk about those things today. There's a point in my role when I was in the HR department of one that I felt a bit comfortable. I started to optimize things that I was doing. I was putting new initiatives in place. I was making the things that I was doing work smarter and not necessarily harder. But then there came a time. I went to my supervisor and it came time for a performance review. Or even, I think it was even outside of a performance review or conversation. And it was time for me to suggest, hey, I think it's time for either a pay bump or a promotion. And I got that speech we all hate to get, maybe not now, let's check back in six months. And I was devastated. I was crushed because I was like, I'm doing all these things. But that's when I realized the things that I was doing, they didn't know I was doing those things. No one knew I was doing those things but me. And that's the difficult part about working as an HR department of one. The work that you do goes unnoticed unless you make that work visible. So today we're going to talk about ways that you can make sure you are making your impact known, and first making sure the things you're doing make sense to what the business already values. In your role today, you may already feel like you're doing the right things, or you might not be sure whether you're doing the right things. But either way, you have to get really clear on that. Whether you have limited resources, whether there are things that you have access to that you're not yet utilizing, you've got to be super clear on where you are before you can ask for anything additional. One of the first things I want to make sure you do is assess where you are right now. Get clear on where you stand right now, from knowledge and skills to use of technology and everything in between. You need to know exactly where you stand right now. So when I work with my clients, one of the first things that we do, we do some assessments, whether it's a normative assessment or we do some things where we're asking for feedback from people that they work with, people that they know personally, and things of that nature. But you have to know where you are right now before you try to accomplish anything else. And so going back to my conversation about the promotion that I asked for but didn't get, it's really clear to me now, looking back in that moment, that I knew what I was doing, but I wasn't making it clear what I was doing for my supervisor, what I was doing for others around me. I wasn't making it all make sense. So in that case, advice that I would have given me was get really, really clear on where you are. Identify where you're starting so that as you add things on top of it, it can be really clear to show tangibly, this is where we were and this is where we got with the things I was doing. On those same lines, you want to make sure you have a targeted plan. So like I said before, in my example, I was doing a lot of things, but there was really no rhyme or reason to the work that I was doing. I knew it was helping me to work smarter and not harder, but there was no way I could really package it up easily. It really took me the full 6 months to really go back and remember, okay, what did I do? Go back to this notes and this email and this phone call. And it was a lot to have to package it together. The work was being done, but it wasn't organized in a way that could be easily presented to someone. So my advice to you is that if you're serious about trying to get to that next step in your career, if you're approaching or you're desiring that 6-figure HR career, it's closer than you realize, but you've got to find ways to optimize the things that you're doing. It's not just about doing all the right things, because doing the right things is what is already required of you. You wouldn't be in your role if you weren't doing the right things. But if you're trying to get promotions and elevation and career growth and status, you want to make sure that you're doing all the right things above and beyond what you're trying to do. I'm not saying that you should take on unnecessary assignments, but what I am saying is that if there is anything that you do above and beyond, anything outside the scope of what you typically do to keep your department afloat, you want to make sure that not only is it something that's going to benefit you as an HR professional, but how does it also benefit the organization? Those are the things that's going to help you to bridge the gap and illustrate the ways that you're helping making the organization better. It's not just about making your life better, but making their lives better as well. As you do all these things, you get clear on where you are and where you want to grow. You have a target plan that you're working week after week after week. The next thing you want to do, and this goes without saying for me now, but it took a while for me to realize it, you've got to make what you do visible. If no one knows you're doing it, you may as well not even do it. So you have to make what you're doing visible. Some of that could mean, working on collaborative teams. Maybe there's something that you're working on that the IT department is also working on, or the marketing team, or the operations team, whatever. But find ways to work with other people. Don't work in isolation. That's another way to get out of head in the sand mode. If all you're doing is working to make your own life better, that's not going to be enough to grow your own HR career. You've got to find ways to make what you're doing make sense to what the business also values. I know your organization has a strategic plan. Where does HR fit within that business plan? If it doesn't fit yet, you need to work to make yourself closer and closer to either the decision makers of your CEO or whatever it takes to make sure that you are aligned with what the business is focused on. One of my biggest pieces of feedback for my clients is that HR cannot be a side project. If what you're doing in HR is a side project to what the business is valuing and focusing on and reviewing month after month, you're fighting a losing battle. So to get over that hurdle, again, if you're not already aligned with what the business is focusing on strategically, find ways to get closer and closer to those decision makers, those stakeholders, your CEO, your CFO, whoever you need to reach out to, but make sure you understand, where is the business going? How can I help as an HR leader? How can I help you to get where we're going? Is there something we need to do in terms of performance? Do we have to reskill or upskill our employees? Do we need to find ways to measure our metrics of our performance and our engagement? Do we have our succession planning in place? Are there different things we need to do to make our pay more competitive, our benefits package more competitive, to make sure we're attracting and retaining our employees? Again, whatever your business is working on, I guarantee it needs people to make those things happen. So that's where you come in to help to bridge those gaps, to make HR not feel so fluffy and up in the air and all we do is hire and fire. No, we are leaders of helping the department to stay afloat, but also helping the business to stay afloat by helping keep the people, the most valuable asset, the people, satisfied and engaged. If this all sounds interesting and exactly what you need to do, finding ways to bridge the gap between where you are right now, where you need to be to get closer to your 6-figure HR career, I highly suggest you enroll in my next cohort for the SHRM HR Department of One Specialty Credential Program. So whether you're aligned with SHRM or not right now, it's a great program for you to help you to understand holistically, what do you need to know as you're leading your HR department, from not just hiring, but your talent acquisition strategy. Not just doing new things, but how do you get buy-in from the stakeholders that matter? So again, when you're putting your department together, when you're putting your career plan together, you've got to find ways to add to your HR toolkit. And this specialty credential is a great way to add to that, because not only will you come away with 10 hours of live instruction from me, and also 2 e-learning courses directly from SHRM, but you'll have a specialty credential you can add to your resume, add to your LinkedIn profile, add to your email address to help to signal your dedication and commitment to not only learning new things, but to be successful in leading the HR department on your own. Click the link in the description to learn more about that program, or to book a call with me to learn more about any other options that are available to you. Closing the loop on that story I told from before, after the 6 months were up, I got my promotion. I had a 7-page report of all the things that I did, all the things were in place before, all the things I had done since, and I was able to get the promotion that I deserved, plus more. But again, I'm trying to avoid you having to go through all those steps. Again, you never want to get to the point where you feel you have to sell yourself, or you have to tell someone what they should probably already know. But again, in that moment, I had to come back and say, Brittany, you didn't tell them, you weren't communicating it, you weren't making the work that you do visible. So now I'm on a mission to help you to not do the same. In my career, I've gone from unpaid intern to temporary HR assistant to permanent HR assistant to HR generalist to HR manager to HR Department of One to senior HR manager to AVP of administration HR to VP of administration HR. So again, I've ran the gamut when it comes to HR roles and HR leadership and understanding what it takes to make a department successful, whether I'm on my own or whether I have a team. So again, I'm called to serve you, to help you to grow in your career as well. If you're still watching, that means that you know there's something you desire as well. So if there's any way I could support you as you continue to grow and learn, I am honored to do it. Strategic HR planning is essential and a must-have. So watch this video next to learn more about that. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.